Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and start. Thank you all for being here. You can take your seats, grab a sandwich, grab two. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me see. Who is a good candidate today? How about Melanie? Where are you going?
I have to put this on the table. I'm sorry.
Okay. How about Mr. Barbera? Would you lead us in the flag salute?
How do you spell it?
Please stand, please.
Stand. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, John, for leading the flag salute. I'd like to welcome everybody. It's 6:12, starting a little bit late. We're going to try very hard to get out of here by 8:30. So I'd just like to say up front that let's try to keep our comments as concise, to the point, and keep them kind of one at a, one very great comment, and then we move on. So with that said, can we go ahead and get roll call?
Okay, Leila Aguilar.
Here.
John Barbera.
Here.
Dick Christensen here. John DeMiglio is excused. Craig Goldfarb.
Here.
Cynthia Gagne is absent at this point, unexcused. Gwen Henry. Melanie LeBrec.
How do you spell that?
Kelly Miller.
Here.
Yeah, how do you spell that? Abby Norman.
Here.
Thomas Norman is excused. Ray Regalado.
Here.
Michael Signorelli.
Here.
Adam Stevenson. He is also absent, unexcused. Angela Sumner is excused. Chris Valle.
Here.
Okay, I believe that's 11. Yes, that's 11, so we do have quorum.
Okay. So that closes agenda item number 1. We're going to move on to agenda item number 2. That's general public comment. I do have some comment cards, so if anyone wants to make a comment, don't forget to fill out a card. They're in the back there. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to try to put them in order in which I received them. So the first one is from Gwen Henry as a stakeholder.
Very loud. Okay, I'm backing up. Can you hear me fine? Woo. All right. Department of Sanitation, they still have the compost bins available up at the harbor site over on Gaffey. Please go get your compost bins. There are some available here, and they will be available every board meeting, as well as the Port Environment and Sustainability Committee meetings, which are held the third Tuesday of every month over at Beacon. Please note that as of August 2023, there have been changes to the blue bin recycling as well. There are a lot of things that people were normally putting in the blue bins that will no longer be allowed, such as cellophane and bubble wrap, a whole bunch of things. All of that blue stuff, no. That can be found on the website. I'll get a flyer for that, but there are other flyers for the safe disposal that's over there, same place on Gaffey. You can take any of your toxic chemicals, paints. You can take electronics, and that's on Saturday and Sunday. And the schedule is over there in the corner. My second comment is about the animal shelter. They still have a need for fosters. There is a lot of, the foster application is in the back, as well as a lot of the needs that they have. There's a list of the ever required food and toys and things like that in the back. One thing that would be important is if you're cleaning house right now and you have old blankets, dog beds, anything warm like that, this winter season, they need that for keeping them warm. They actually have a great need. They are still over capacity. It's still a crisis. Please consider volunteering or fostering and getting a needy animal out of the shelter in order to give a space to another needy animal. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Eric Hansen.
I'll stand way back here. Can you hear it? No?
A little bit closer.
All right. Hi. Hello. Good evening. My name's Eric Hansen. I live at 1642 North Tabor Avenue for the last 63 years. There is a ficus tree in the parkway that is lifting my home, has destroyed the sewer system with the roots 3 times. The last time was very recent after my parents passed away. And it's lifting my driveway. My driveway is going to be like the sidewalk. It's an elementary school a block down. It is a hazard to the neighborhood. Even the fire department came the other day for a neighbor. And the firemen said, these trees are going to overtake the neighborhood. And then the other one says, look at the roots. Sir, you don't have to look at the roots. You can see them from space. I addressed you because that if something is not done with this tree, the canopy is totally covered my driveway now. Half of my house is in the canopy. I cannot grow anything in front of my house. Nothing will live. It is a shame that the city will not address a problem that was not the Hansen family, never was. The sidewalk, the people that really should look at this and should be ashamed because that there is a school. I just found out. I didn't see it. Thank God I didn't see it. A child in a wheelchair that goes to Tabor Avenue fell into my front yard. If I would have seen it, I wouldn't be standing here right now because I would have died to see that child. And I've seen other people fall. And it's like the answer I get, the city would rather take a slip and fall than to fix the problem. I've been told, issue the bills that you have. What good is that going to do to put a bandage on and gashing wound? What is it going to do? I submitted 311 for a sidewalk. I get notice back that it says I own from the curb all the way back. Well, I looked at where my property lines are, and they're right next to the sidewalk going this way towards my property, not out towards the street. So all I want is some onus. Mayor Bassett wants to take homeless people off of the street. That tree is soon to put me into that category of homeless. Because that if you see the damage that it's doing to my house, not the responsibility of the city, but the doggone root system that's raising my driveway, it's pitiful. It is pitiful.
Thank you, Mr. Hansen. I appreciate the coming to us and sharing.
You can come to the, you should come in.
Thank you. Last public speaker card is from Ellen Franz.
Thank you. Just very briefly, everybody probably knows next Monday is Martin Luther King Day, which is a day of service in communities across the country, and there are a number of events here in San Pedro. One is the 2024 version of the White Point restoration work at the end of Western Avenue. So at 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock next Monday, the 15th at White Point, there'll be habitat restoration work, and we'd love to have volunteers. For anybody who's interested, here at Peck Park, this coming 2 days after that, on the 17th, is an exercise walk starting at the end of the parking lot just to our east, and 9 days after that, on the 27th, is a nature walk starting at the same location if anybody would like to hike the trails through Peck Park Canyon. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last public speaking card that we have today. Okay, that will close out agenda item number 2. I'm going to shift the next item down a little bit with your permission, Lori. And I'd like to move up the elected governmental and public safety representatives for any reports that they may have. And let's go with the mayor's office first. Jocelyn?
Good evening. Hello, board members. Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a good holiday with family and loved ones. So since the last year, we did complete, the mayor did complete her first year of her administration as mayor. So in the first year, just a short recap to show you the accomplishments that we had. We were able to move over 21,000 Angelenos inside. We also have over 9,000 units of affordable and supportive housing in the pipeline, thanks to the executive directive that the mayor passed within her first weeks as mayor. We also saw an increase of people applying to our LAPD department. So in August, we saw 1,048 people apply to LAPD, which is the largest number of applicants that we've seen since September of 2020. We also had thousands of new businesses open throughout the city. And we were able to complete over 100,000 more city services last year than we did the year prior. And we've had over 2,500 Angelenos hired to join our city family. So that's just some of the accomplishments or successes that we had in our first year. I also just wanted to make the board aware that we are actively looking for our new general manager for Dunn. I did confirm today that the application process is closed, but we will be beginning interviews, I believe, at the end of this month, and we will be doing the interviews with a panel that will consist of representatives from each areas of the city. So we will have a representative from the Harbor area here to join us in the panel to help us find a new general manager for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I also just wanted to remind you all, I do believe you all received an email from our office regarding a survey for you to complete so that we can hear directly from you as to what you want to see in the new general manager. So if you haven't already, please consider completing that survey. Super short, super quick, but we're still accepting submissions. So it's just a great way for us to hear from you as to what you want to see from the department moving forward. And that's all from my end, unless there's any questions.
Thank you for that. We can take any questions from around the table first, and then we'll take it from the audience. Oops. I'm so excited about that. Gwen?
Hi, can you give any comments on some of the advancements and reports for Stacey Daines and General Manager, what she's been able to accomplish in her months?
I don't have those with me. I mean, I'm happy to look them up. I don't know if she did put together a similar report, but I can look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else from around the table? Okay. Do we have any questions from the audience? Lori.
Hi, Jocelyn.
Lori, can you get to the... Yes, thank you. Yeah.
I can repeat the question.
Lori, if you would, please. Thank you.
Are there going to be any changes to the Inside Safe program, or is it just going to keep moving along as it is?
That's a great question. So, as you know, like the first year of Inside Safe, we were really building the plane as we were flying it, right? That's like the term they like to use. But there are changes that we want to see with Inside Safe, or we're working towards. One of them is obviously having more operations. Recently, just before the end of last year, we had our first RV encampment resolution with Inside Safe. So that's something we're looking to do more of in this new year, as well as doing operations that are more specific. So lately it's been just adults who are willing to come inside, but we want to do some that are more specific to our target population, so maybe families or youth. So that is something that we're looking to do. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience? I don't see any other hands. Jocelyn, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Okay. Tim, with your permission, I know we have someone from the other cities. I'd like to kind of leave this last piece last, and then we can take it a little bit more in detail. Mr. Rios from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate it. Octaviano Rios with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Thank you, board members. So I'll try to be quick here because I know you have a very important topic you want to discuss, recent activities incident in your community. Something the city clerk's office funding program wanted us to highlight for boards is that their event approval process has changed. Specifically, they will no longer be accepting event approval forms via email. You can now submit it online. And just a reminder to please submit it at least 30 days in advance of your event, or else your event will not get approved. So I know there were some flexibilities in the past from the city clerk's office staff, but and I don't know if they're going to continue doing that and making exceptions, but they did want us to highlight the new process and to please submit those forms as soon as you know you're going to have an event and it's approved by the board. Please submit that paperwork. Robert's Rules of Order, just a reminder that we do have a free resource for our board members to take advantage of. You should have received all your credentials to log into the Robert's Rules Made Simple website and get information about anything you want to know about parliamentary procedure and how to implement it at your board meetings and your committee meetings. And it's, again, a reminder, very specific and tailored to just neighborhood councils. So very good tool and resource if you haven't taken advantage of it. And last but not least, the Homelessness Liaisons invitation has been announced in your NC profiles. So if you haven't appointed a liaison for your board, please do so. My understanding is you can appoint more than one homelessness liaison to get registered on our end, and from there, it seems like we're going to start our work as a department to engage with the mayor's office and any program related to homelessness. So, and I did forget at the beginning, I wanted to remind you that your NC profiles just came out this morning. So I got all this information plus more through your NC profiles that was emailed to you, I think 10-something in the morning. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Octaviano. Any questions from around the table first? I do not see any hands. Any questions from our audience? Okay. Ms. Jacobs, community advocate.
There hasn't been a homelessness liaison meeting with Empower LA in several years. Is there going to actually start? They're going to have meetings downtown, or Zoom, or any meetings, or you're just appointing people?
Right now, it's just the appointments.
Okay.
So I don't have any details as to how we're going to go about engaging those liaisons.
Okay.
But I'm assuming obviously it's a priority for the mayor.
So I was reappointed, and apparently they can have others. So am I going to be added to some email?
There's a form, and I can actually send it to someone on the board. But I'll send it to you. But I'll send it to President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? I don't see any hands. Octaviano,
All right.
thank you so much.
Thank you. And Happy New Year. Forgot to say it.
Happy New Year. Thank you. Okay. I'd like to move on to, I believe, no other elected representatives or departments? You have a report other than what we're going to talk about? Yes. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
God, New Year felt like a month ago. I guess Happy New Year felt like so long ago. Good evening, everybody. So great to see you again.
Good evening.
All right, so the Mel Bobbich Gymnasium was approved by the Board of Rec and Parks Commissioners last week. We're working with the department to procure a contractor to fabricate and install signage on the building, as well as directional signage at the front of the park. We will keep you posted on a sign unveiling ceremony. Pickleball courts. 2 tennis courts just north of the future Mel Bobbich Gymnasium. Bobbich or Bobic?
Bobbich.
Bobbich? Okay, great. Gymnasium will be converted into 8 pickleball courts. A contractor has been selected. Rec and Parks and the council member's office has met with Rec and Park, or the Peck Park Pickleball Advisory Group. Work is to begin this month. Equipment and materials have already been ordered, pending weather conditions. We're looking forward to having these courts ready for play in the middle to the late spring. Goats. The goats are unable to be utilized at Peck Park because they chewed too far into the root system, and it became an erosion issue for Peck Canyon. RAP has researched this and has consulted with other municipalities to determine whether the department should allow goats to graze at RAP facilities. Based on the information collected, RAP is not allowing goats to graze on RAP property at this time. In regards to this issue, the goats have left the meadow? All right. Metro TCN program, digital display signs. There are no digital display signs in San Pedro. Council members' colleagues asked for help from the floor in session for support of City Council to bring much needed revenue to their underserved communities. In addition, these communities especially in East LA, have the highest levels of highest proliferation of sign pollution. They are desperate for the takedown of these signs and the added revenue that would come to sidewalks in their neighborhoods. As such, we do not have a single one of these signs proposed in CD15, so there would not be an issue of light pollution in our community. As a matter of equity, council members' colleagues were desperate, and council member voted to provide his support. The Los Angeles Harbor Department will release a Notice of Preparation, Initial Study, NOPIS, for the Berth 44 Boatyard project on Thursday, January 11th. That's this Thursday. The proposed project would include site preparation consisting of demolition, repairs, and grading by the Harbor Department, followed by construction to redevelop the 4.75-acre site with a state-of-the-art boatyard, including docks, gangways, slips, scissor lifts, standing systems, and a 400-ton travel lift operating to service vessels such as tugboats, commercial fishing boats, recreational vessels, and ferries and commercial sales of vessel supplies. The proposed project would be operated for up to 40 years. A virtual public meeting will be held for the proposed project on Thursday, January 25th, 2024, at 4 o'clock p.m. Starting January 11th, information on how to join the meeting and a copy of the document will be available on the Port's website at www.portoflosangeles.org/CEQA. The Port will be accepting comments until the end of the document's comment period on February 26th. I'm still waiting to hear back from park maintenance regarding diverters, the runoff diverters at Peck Park. I followed up with them today, and I hope to have an update for you soon. Jedi Zone. The EWDD is in the process of reviewing the request. The next step is for it to be heard in the T3 committee, then it will go to the full council for approval. When we have the dates or need public comment, I'll let you know so that you can share a date and a link to submit. And finally, the port will be coming to the neighborhood councils in the coming months to make presentations on the public access investment plan. And just a friendly reminder, if you have any requests from the city, please submit them on your 311 app, or you can call 311, or you can call me if you need help from the Clean 15 team. Once again, my email address is drew, D-R-E-W, .leach, L-E-A-C-H, @lacity.org. It's a pleasure to serve you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to be taking questions from around the table, and I do see a hand to my left. So, Melanie?
This is more a comment. I just want to say that Drew is amazing, and Councilman, you've done great in picking her because she is like quick to get back to you and very, very concise in getting things resolved and everything. I appreciate you, Drew, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie.
Great. Gwen?
I'd like to echo that. Thank you.
Of course. I have an update for you, by the way.
Yeah, we got to talk. Anyway, can you repeat just a few of the details again about the Birth 39?
Yes, it's Birth 44.
44, yeah.
Boatyard project. Yeah. Which details do you want? Like what kind of vessels will be?
Once again, the release of the information is going to be January 11th, this Thursday.
Yeah, portoflosangeles.org/CEQA.
Right.
The port will be accepting comments until February 26th.
26th. Okay.
26, yes.
And
and the virtual meeting is going to be on the 25th of January.
The 25th. Okay, virtual.
At 4 p.m. But starting on Thursday is when you'll be able to see the details of that meeting at the website that I told you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Gwen, just so that you know, I saw an email coming from the port, so I'll make sure you get it.
Record.
Also, the mayor's office has been trying to reach you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from around the table? I see no other hands. Any questions from the audience? And I see no hands from the audience. Drew, thank you so much for your...
My pleasure. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye. Okay. I kind of would like to move into this next section. Councilman, with your permission, maybe we can get like a overview of the incident from LAPD, and then move into some comments by you. LAPD, any?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Captain Brett McGuire from LAPD Harbor Station. With your permission, before we dive into that, I had two other quick points I wanted to address. Number one, on day after tomorrow, Wednesday, Harbor Division will be honoring the life of an officer we recently lost to cancer, Austin Cronkite. He was 29 years old, was diagnosed with cancer in August, and unfortunately he passed right before Christmas. So number one, I wanted to say thank you to the community for your outpouring of support. It really means a lot to our folks. And then obviously continued prayers and your thoughts are much appreciated, especially as we try to get through this funeral on Wednesday. Number two, an important item that this board has talked to me about a lot, and that is the fact that for several years we have not had a permanent SLO for the Northwest San Pedro area. So we've tried to fill the gap with some fill-in SLOs who've done a good job filling in the gap. But obviously we recognize that is not a replacement for having a permanent SLO for this area. So hot off the presses, I'm proud to announce publicly for the first time that Russell Vallone will be the new permanent SLO for Northwest San Pedro. So he's been on loan there for a couple of months. He's done an awesome job, and I told him now that he's got the permanent job, that doesn't mean he can stop working for all of you. So thank you for your persistence, especially Ms. Lebrecq, and thank you for this board for being wise counselors. And all of that was not lost on us, and I'm glad we were finally able to fill that position for all of you. So now just to speak on the issue we've been alluding to all night, which is an egregious hate crime that occurred on December 29th. And the victim is actually back here in the background. So this gentleman parked his car, as all of us do, in his neighborhood. And luckily, a neighbor the next morning saw that his car had been vandalized and that some very vile and crude language was written over the car, to include swastikas that were written on the car, which obviously made it very evident that this vandalism was motivated by hatred based on our victim's race. So immediately as this occurred, our officers began to canvass the area and started to look for potential suspects. One of the best ways we can solve these crimes is identifying witnesses and video cameras. As of now, we believe this happened probably overnight. We have not identified any direct witnesses. Similarly, there's a challenge with some of the video cameras in that area, but our detectives are continuing to kind of broaden that circle to see if we can cast a wider net to see if we can get someone that maybe didn't view the particular crime but may have seen suspects either coming or going to that incident. So my actual detective is out there right now continuing with that canvas of that area. It did get some media exposure, so we've gotten several people who have reported individuals that they suspect may be responsible for this crime, which we welcome, and we're taking a look at all of those individuals, especially looking at their background to see if that's something that may indicate that they may be potential suspects. As of now, we have not identified a particular suspect. We have not made any arrests, but the investigation is ongoing. As far as next steps, what I would ask of the community right now, especially those in the immediate neighborhood, is we're trying to narrow down the window for when this crime occurred. So they parked their car late afternoon, and then we were called by a neighboring resident the next day at around 11 a.m., which gives us a window of about 18 hours that we're trying to pinpoint. So for right now, if anybody is aware that they drove by and they saw it at right before they went to bed at 10 o'clock at night, or earlier in that morning as they went out to take a walk at 6 a.m., the more we can compress that time where we know that this crime occurred, it will help us as we continue to look for potential suspects and especially as we review video evidence on that. Again, this is an unconscionable crime, and to be honest, being in law enforcement, we're desensitized to some of these things, and seeing the pictures especially, even I was shocked by the brazenness and the brashness and the horribleness of this crime. One thing we did look at was to see, is this kind of like an isolated incident, or is this more endemic of a larger problem that may be brewing in the San Pedro area, specifically northwest San Pedro? So not to downplay this incident, but looking at our crime statistics for 2023 versus 2022, our hate crimes actually remain flat. Similarly, we looked at specifically hate crimes related to African American or black victims, and there was one additional this year in 2023 versus 22, but these are small numbers, 14 versus 13. And then similarly, I drilled down even further for the northwest San Pedro area. This was the third incident the entire year for the northwest San Pedro area. So as far as some sort of comfort to the community, I would just say we believe this is not a part of a larger endemic of hate crimes. There is indication that this was targeted towards this victim. It was not a random sort of attack. But again, as everyone who I'm sure is going to reiterate, this is just an unconscionable crime. So please rest assured that we are doing everything we can to identify those that were responsible. Other than that, that's kind of my report, sir, unless there's any other questions I can answer.
Thank you. If we can, I'd like to call on Councilmember McCosker.
Tim McCosker, Councilman of the 1-5. Thank you very much for giving me a call and offering me an opportunity and offering your colleagues in your community an opportunity to speak on this issue. You know, sadly, this is in the Northwest Neighborhood Council area. Sadly, it's in San Pedro. Sadly, it's in Los Angeles. Sadly, it exists Mr. Reginald Denny is here with us tonight. Oh, and his lovely wife is with us. And Reginald Jr. is here too. Family of 3 here in this, Mr. and Mrs. here in this community for over 25 years. People that are familiar to us, whether you go to Pedro High to a game or an event, or you go to the Y or come here to this park. This is a family that is of this community, and it's always good to see them. And it was both heartbreaking but also encouraging that I began getting calls shortly after the event from folks who were concerned. Every single person deeply concerned wanted to know if it was true. And so I was heartbroken, but also gratified to call LAPD and to find out how seriously the captain and his colleagues in public service were taking this. I did have the opportunity to come out and meet with the family. And again, it was heartbreaking, especially, and I will say it, though young Reginald is here in the room, none of us should be exposed to anything like this, but for a 12-year-old young adult to be exposed to such hatred and to reasonably reach the conclusion that this is how life is horrible. This isn't how life should be for anyone in our community. For anyone in our community. So I know that I'm just speaking words that you all believe, that we are one community, and we don't just teach tolerance, we teach embrace and welcoming and love and support for one another. And there is never any circumstance, I'm just saying what we all believe, there's never any circumstance where we use words or actions to create an otherness for someone else. And to think that the person or persons who did this not only had that depth of hatred in their heart, but thought that it was okay. We need as a family, as a community, to express in every way we can, remembering that the victims need to be respected and not made uncomfortable, to express in every way we can that this is not okay. It's just not. It's just heartbreaking and not okay. And I thank you for, the difficult, Ray, this is classic you and all of you who in your service. This is admirable that you wanted to have this discussion. You wanted to have LAPD come. I think it's brave and it's honorable that the Scott family is here. And I think we have an opportunity every day, every way, to show people that they are respected and that they belong and that they're embraced and they're part of this community. Because it would not be unreasonable for someone in these circumstances to say, you know what, I'm going to get out of here. And I don't want anybody in our district, in our Great 1-5, to feel like they don't belong. So I realize that that's not the typical councilman talk, but we're just here. We're just community members. I just live across the canyon from here. And I'm heartbroken, as I'm sure you are. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. If I could, I'd like to say to the family, we're sorry. We as a community are sorry for the ugliness that you had to endure from this incident. A little background on my part. I was a member of the Los Angeles County Human Relations Commission, and one of my jobs with it was to record all the hate crime information that occurred within the County of Los Angeles for the 20 plus years that I was with the county. I was also asked at times to go and actually talk to families who were victimized by this. One of the things that I would say that I learned from an experience like this, given my experience in speaking to many people, is the fact that this particular type of crime, and I'm hoping people would listen, this particular type of crime hurts the victims at their deepest part of their heart, their mind, their soul, because it wasn't something that someone wanted from them and took and you could replace. The individual who has actually done this ugly act has taken a piece of our community soul, because that's not who we are. That obviously is not the community that we all are here to serve and support individuals, families that don't deserve this. Again, I feel like I have to apologize. But the one thing that I also found out or strived during the time that I worked for the county in this work is the fact that as a community, we have to make sure that those individuals, that individual, know that this act is not acceptable. Not at all. This isn't what San Pedro is all about. This isn't what the harbor community is all about. This isn't what the city of Los Angeles is all about. Because we are a diverse community. We do interact with each other constantly. And we do not hurt our loved ones. And we are part of your loved community. My heart goes out to what you experienced, but I know as the community embraces that we want to make sure that you are part and don't leave, because then those individuals have won again. We want you here. We need you here. We need to be here as a community to make sure that those individuals know that this will not happen again. I'll open it up if anyone else would like to say something. We'll go around the table and then we'll hit the audience. So we'll just go around. We'll start with Kelly and move this way around the table.
Have any funds or anything been collected to help for the repair and of the car and stuff? Okay. Please keep us informed on that so that we can all donate and help towards that, because I know deductibles are outrageous, and whatever we can do to help to get that out of your, a classic car, and get that out of your having to deal with.
I can send a link to Ray. There is one.
There is one?
I can send it to Ray.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
I saw Chris's hand up.
Okay. First of all, thanks to the Scotts for coming in. Full disclosure, we're neighbors. They live their garage is about 150 feet maybe from mine. I've been on that block for 10 and a half years, and they've been my neighbors for that whole time. And to be perfectly honest, it's hard when one of these things happens to know exactly what to say. You have to sort of bear with me, because this is like a moment that crystallizes, frankly, a lifetime of experience. And so, you could say it's a drop in the bucket, or maybe this is the lightning strike that kind of throws everything else into relief. But, first of all, just my sense of disgust at what happened is really what kind of goes through me, is that because on that particular block, the 1200 block of 8th and 9th Street, there were several black families, of which I am one. And this is nothing that I've seen before, which is not to push the topic one way or the other. It, to me, suggests that somebody decided in particular to express themselves in that particular way, and it wasn't like they went up and down the street to every black family. They found somebody that, for whatever reason, they decided they were going to take it out on them personally, and in a way that is backhandedly general in the language that they used, and the imagery that they used, but also, they did it to hurt somebody. It wasn't just sort of like, there were other black people in that block that they had an issue with all of us. They could have spent all night doing it, but they didn't. They decided to make a particular person, a particular family, the focus of their intent. And to me, I don't know if there's something above a hate crime, but this is kind of a twistedly personal aspect of that. And on a personal note, really, it makes me emotional because you don't want to constantly be looking over your shoulder. You don't want to assume that people think that way. But I'll be perfectly frank with all of you, and I don't speak for the Scots, I don't speak for other black people, but you know that it's out there in our own city council chambers. Significant numbers of people who have particular anti-black sentiments and the power to act on it, which, of course, really all of us do. Anybody can have a bad idea or a bad attitude. Most of us hopefully keep it to themselves, and those small number who decide to act on it, whether it's with a spray can or whether it's around cocktails at a meeting or whatever it is, again, they take a really generalized, I'm going to call it an emotional defect or whatever it is, and they decide to act out on it without regard to, I don't think what they're doing makes their own lives any better, but they certainly don't care, who else they hurt or put out. And I think just like that sort of non-surprise surprise that I felt when I heard the recordings that came out of City Council with this, and, I was leaving my own garage, driving up the alley, took a right onto 9th, and I looked over and I thought, what? I saw that the tires were slashed. I saw that there was paint on the car, and I didn't see what it was or what it said. But it was one of those things in our neighborhood. In the past few years, I've seen a few things that disturb me. Things have happened to my neighbors directly. Things that have happened within, yards of my own door. And when I found out what this one was, it was worse, not just because there's sort of a racial or a vandal or an intent to damage someone emotionally, to hurt them. It's because these other things that would happen or that happened were sort of, I don't think that whoever did those intended for them to happen there. This was something where somebody really went out of their way to hurt one of our neighbors for no good reason, whatever short list of reasons there ever might be. This was one where somebody had to make this a project, and how they, what they got out of it is something that swirls in my mind. It's like, why would you do that? Whatever it is that you are trying to express, whatever problem you might have with somebody, personally or impersonally, that's a weird way to spend your own time. And I guess I would just like to say that just like I felt when I heard, our city council members and their opinions on people, as, kind of stinging as that is, and as much of a reminder it is, all around you, there are people who have their mind made up about you without knowing anything about you. It's not just an opportunity, but for me, a requirement that the rest of us who kind of have our heads and our hearts bolted in properly need to reassure one another that this is the exception. It's a problem that exists literally everywhere in our country, in our society, some places more than others, but yes, here. And so you don't have to be looking over your shoulder. You should not be made to feel unwelcome or afraid, but My own personal experience, having lived all over the country in a majority of, non-black spaces, you have your head on a swivel. You pay attention. It's what some people call being woke, where you, like, whether it's your own survival or your own sense of humanity, you have to know what's going on around you. And so it's important at times like this that everybody who's got the right attitude about life reassures people that, this is a safe space, that your neighborhood belongs to you and you to it. Hopefully we find out, who did this, and they can be made to explain why, if that's even possible. But in the meantime, for the Scots and for the rest of you, I would like to suggest this is an opportunity for us just to become better neighbors and to sort of explicitly and like with intent, because somebody explicitly and with intent push things the wrong way. So the rest of us need to do what we do best and push the right way and remind each other that, we're okay, it's going to be okay, but that's not okay.
Well said.
Thank you, Chris. Melanie?
Yeah, I'm just sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm the public safety chair. And when I saw that, I was ill. When I saw it posted on Facebook, I became very ill seeing that post. And then when the council member posted his post, I was like, you know what, I'm going to get all the neighborhood watches and my own neighborhood watch to start sharing this, because the more people that have this on neighborhood watches, it's going to get out there that maybe somebody knows something or has a camera somewhere that has caught this to catch this individual. This should not happen to nobody. We're a diverse community in the harbor area, and this is sick. The symbols and the words that were used on your car, it makes me ill. And that's not who we are. That is not who we are. And I am so sorry. I am sorry. And I apologize deeply about that.
Thank you. Anyone else from around the table?
Real quickly, honestly, one of the first things I thought of, the camera aspect. Because of some things that have happened in our neighborhood over the last few years, I went in not too hardcore, but for relatively cheaply, less than about $30 a pop, you can buy sort of non-permanent, like if you have a window that faces the street, even if nothing has happened or things don't happen regularly, even if you are not going to go whole hog and get like a full security system, for relatively cheaply you can buy a camera that simply records on a loop, or you have to reset the memory card every once in a while. But essentially, it's, I don't know that it's a great thing that everything's got to be sort of technologically bound together and that everything's got to be under surveillance, but you never know when something might happen, even if it doesn't happen to you outside your door. So if you have a window that faces the alley, out onto your street or wherever, it's just a little bit of insurance for your household and for your community, because you never know what you're going to catch.
So we're going to go ahead and go around the table. I'm sorry, around the audience. I saw Xavier's hand up first, and then Lori, you'll be next, and then Drew.
Good evening. My name is Xavier Hermosillo. I live in the coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Council area. And I want to say to the Scott family, as someone who was born and raised and lived my entire life here in San Pedro, you know that we're not like that. But you also know, and we all know, that these days we live in a sick, disgusting world everywhere. Not just in this country, everywhere. And, just a few days ago, you may have read or heard in Compton that a local market was trashed by 100 young people who drove a car into it and then took everything that was in there, $75,000 worth of groceries and everything. Not because they were poor, not because they were needy, but because they were jerks. And it's jerks that have done this to you. And I've heard that you are thinking of moving out in San Pedro. And as a San Pedro lifer, I would beg you to stay. And, Joe Gatlin, who you've met, Joe and I have been friends for many, many years. I helped him start the NWSP chapter. A bunch of us did that aren't African American, Anthony Santage and a bunch of others, because every element of our community has to have a voice. And so you're hearing voices here tonight, but we're not an LAPD is here tonight. And if anybody can figure out who did it, they can. They do the impossible all the time. That's their job, is to do the impossible. And to the extent that those of us in the community can help you, I'll give you my business card, to do anything for you. That's what we need to do to help each other. Otherwise, that's how communities get destroyed. And I'm not going to put up with it. I don't want you to put up with it. I don't want you to run away, be scared. If it happened to me, I'd be having to change, underwear every once in a while, because it's not something, especially if you have kids. Okay, thank God that ours are grown and et cetera. But I don't want this to be viewed as what goes on in San Pedro. This incident happened. There are others that happen. But those of us that have been here are going to fight this element. We're going to do everything we can to find out who they are. And we'll show up in court and make sure that they're punished if we find witnesses, because that's the way that we maintain control of our community. And I'm glad that you came here tonight. I'm glad the councilman spoke as he did. And just hang in there. We're a great town. You know that. Everybody here knows that. But we have to fight to keep it that way. And so God bless you. And it's a terrible way to start the new year. But, hey, tomorrow's a new day. Take it, run with it, and let the rest of us kick ass and take names. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori?
I, too, send my apologies. I met you guys during the holiday, during the boat parade, when I was walking there with Jerry. I'm listening to what everybody's saying, and nobody wants to live in fear. As somebody who's Jewish, I also sometimes am in fear, just even going to a synagogue. There's people of other races, LGBTQ. There's hate crimes. There's hate crimes against people experiencing homelessness. But you're all saying this doesn't happen in our community. So this particular situation was brought to light to all of us. But this is not new, and we can't pretend that this is new. And do you know all the neighbors on your block? Because some of the neighbors are the people who did this, okay? And these people full of hate are not going to come to the neighborhood council meeting because they don't care about improving our community. Those aren't the people. So I'm listening here, and I know we're like-minded here, and we're angry, and we're upset. I'm shaking. But what are we going to do about it? So I propose we consider at least hosting a tolerance event. And let's talk about feelings, but also talk about what we can do. We talk about technology, increased neighborhood watch. What does that look like? Because the world's getting uglier. Don't want to get political, but we all know why the world's getting uglier. Okay, people are not afraid anymore to commit crimes in the middle of the day. They aren't afraid to get in mobs and destroy stores. Okay, none of us want to live like this. And so, well, I'm really horrified for you guys, but this is just the one that was brought to light. This happens all the time. And a lot of them don't get publicized. We don't hear about them, especially in more impacted areas. So let's really look at this and talk about what tolerance means, okay? Because just saying, can't we just all get along, is not going to fix this problem. It just isn't. You know, gun control, weapons, whatever it takes. So, Councilmember Tim, you know, let's talk about creating some, and not just a one event. Let's have, you know, quarterly tolerance event. Let's talk about how we can address this problem and learn about what other people are going through. People don't look at me, obviously, and well, she's Jewish. You can't tell. Chris, we can see that you're black. You know, and so you're more of a target. Okay, we know that. So I'm just, like, in my mind, I want to be solution oriented, and there isn't a solution except through education of tolerance. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Drew?
How do you follow Lori Jacobs? My goodness. Yesterday, I sent a study or a poll to the chief of staff for Councilmember Tim McOsker that 1 in 4 hiring managers says that they would not hire a Jew, and that over 33% said that there is blatant anti-Semitism in their workplace. Where I'm going with this is that I feel none of those things under Councilmember Tim McOsker. And he has created a safe environment for me and for everybody. My predecessor was African American, she was black, and she feels safe. And all of that is due to the incredible work of our leader here, Councilmember Tim McOsker. On the back of your car were swastikas. That targets not just you, that targets me, that targets Lori, that targets all the people that symbol meant death to the Jews. And the people that hate the Jews are the people that hate the blacks, so we're in this together. We see swastikas almost daily up in LA, up in the city, up in Topeka Robertson, daily on Jewish community buildings. It's a regular occurrence, but you know what? Hasn't happened down here because of our community. We embrace each other, we love each other, and hopefully we will continue to create a deterrence in such a way that people will not even think that this is a community that can come into. So, once again, we're with you. We support you. Know that we are equally hated, although you more targeted because of the color of your skin. But I find myself identifying as a Jew publicly as often as I can because I want to know if I'm safe around the people that I'm with. But know that you're safe here and you're safe with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. I had one last hand go up, and Gwen, we'll take you as the last comment.
I didn't want to say anything yet, but Lori talking about action. It's a little premature to announce it, but I'm rebuilding the Holy Trinity Neighborhood Watch, partly in response to this. Also, another target, not racially related, but a targeted neighbor that has been repeated. But I was actually building it today, and as a response to a lot of new activity that's going on. So stay tuned. That will be in my area, a big gap. And I've been talking to my neighbors about cameras and the rest, especially on the street where you can see license plates, where people turn, and where they go. So it's not just protecting their own property, but protecting the entire community. So that's in the Holy Trinity area. I just want you to know that it's partly because of what occurred to you. And it disturbed me when a few years ago there were swastikas found on buildings and on the bridgeways. And there is that still around, and it's got to find out who it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen.
I don't even think they understand what it means.
I've heard that, and this is something that I profess, that we can't just go around expressing ourselves without coming up with some type of remedy, some type of solution.
Action.
Some type of action, exactly. So I hope that perhaps we can maybe put our heads together and come up with a public event that sends a message, and we can move on from there. What I will do is I will ask anyone who wants to work with me on that event, work with the council member's office on that event. Let me know so that we can partner and create that event that says this will not happen. We love the people who live in San Pedro. We love the people who live in our harbor community. We love the people who live and work and play in the city of Los Angeles. So,
thank you very much. I appreciate that suggestion. I commit to work with you and this neighborhood council on such an event, because it does hit home that we can't just talk. We have to take action, and education and being on the record in good faith is really, really extraordinarily important. Again, I want to make sure that the Scots are comfortable, because they are the victims here. And I will tell you that the Civil Rights Commission in the City of Los Angeles has great leadership, and the executive director reached out to me and she said, we would like to do something. And I said, I appreciate that. I appreciate your expertise, but I do want it to be very locally driven. You know, I want to make sure that the Rays and the Melodies and the Chris's and the folks who are here most intimately involved are in the lead on this. And so I look forward to. Sadly, this is something we have to do, but it is our opportunity to address evil. An evil that is with us and didn't just appear. And I appreciate Lori saying it didn't just show up. It didn't just show up. I mean, I can't begin to know the experience of a Black American here in San Pedro, but I'm quite sure that this is not a unique, isolated event. This is something that we need to sit and listen and come to understand. So, really humbled by all of your words, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity.
Last word.
Okay.
Kelly, then we go.
I want to thank LAPD too, because I know that you guys are working hard on this, and we appreciate how much that our new SLO has been taking care of us and really looking into things. And we appreciate working with you to help solve this. And I'm hoping that we can have some solutions and action and take action and be part of that. And just thank you guys for always being supportive. I know you're targeted a lot, and I'm sorry for that, because I don't think that that's right. So thank you.
Okay, another hand. Diana.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if maybe the board would like to put out some kind of a statement and send it to random links and send it to the San Pedro Today magazine, and that maybe you could just empower the executive committee to do that. Because I think it would be a really good thing for us as a community to do.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you being here with us today. We're going to go ahead and close out this item. And I want to say one last thing, and that one last thing is Slow Baloney, welcome to the family. Okay, let's move on, and we'll close out item number 4. And let's go ahead and get our homelessness liaison report.
I'm not in the mood anymore, Ray.
I don't blame you.
Wow, I'm just trying to take all that in. First, I want to mention to anybody that if anybody has gently used clothes and shoes, things like that they want to donate, you can always contact me and I can get them directly to outreach workers and housing navigators. As usual, if you see something, say something by going to LA Hop. I did want to mention I filed a couple of LA Hop claims recently, and I got feedback that because of the huge increase in COVID that the outreach teams are putting a higher priority on COVID, and so some of the outreach teams may take a little longer. Should I wait for this or keep talking? Or whatever. Okay.
Lori, go ahead and we'll...
Go ahead. Okay. Okay, homeless count. Look, this is the last meeting I'm going to bug you about the homeless count, because the homeless count is in 16 days. So if you go to the theycountwillyou.org, you can register. I have some flyers over there. You can, as I've said before, you can help count in any area. I want you to know that participating in the homeless count is not necessarily a solution to homelessness, but it's a requirement with the federal government for us to get resources to do some type of count. I do not stand by and say this is an accurate measurement, but it's the best thing that we have right now. So if you're interested, you will not be interfacing with anybody. You will be driving around. Once you register, you'll get a link to video training, and you can learn about it. The point place is right here at Peck Park. If you have any questions about it, in my report I outlined a lot of the enhancements that LASA is saying that they've added to the app and to the reporting. The only thing that's sort of disappointing is last year they started not reporting specifically all the areas of the 1-5. We get total Los Angeles City, whereas like Torrance, Redondo Beach, they're cities, so we get the breakdown. They are no longer providing the breakdown. So it's very hard for us to actually get a true measurement if we're making a difference. Wow. So that's political. I have no say in that or comment. I have a little bit of information. I guess I did make a comment, huh? Care Court was launched on December 1st. It's rolling out very slowly. I believe there was something in December from the Board of Supervisors that kind of slowed it down. But I have information here if you're interested in learning about Care Court, okay, and if you're wondering what the heck that is, for us under the state, it's a Community Assistance Recovery and Empowerment Act that qualifying individuals or entities can petition the Court of LA to help connect eligible individuals to an array of services, including mental health, housing, etc. Basically, it's conservatorship. And right now, their focus is on extreme chronic homeless that have schizophrenia or extreme bipolar. That's their first focus. And these are the people who need assistance. Part of the holdup is, guess what? We don't have enough people working with these people, and we don't have enough facilities. If you know anybody interested going into these fields, encourage them to consider that. They're offering tremendous incentives through the county to go into the mental health field, including possibly helping pay for education, debt forgiveness, etc. I have links on here for you to learn more about that. Harbor Connects is a local group that used to be called Harbor Neighborhood Relief Fund that they started during COVID, helping people. They're basically trying to fill the gaps of where the needs are with people experiencing homelessness and low economic situations, specifically in the harbor area, which is why I listed them here. I have a link to their website, and I will get you more information on that. But that's a great way for us to be helping people in our community. I've got information. I actually put this here for Mr. DeMeglio, but the LA County Rent Relief Program, because he's expressed concerns about us not having enough programs to help the mom and pop property owner apartment buildings. This ends soon, but there is a relief program offering those owners who didn't get paid their rent during COVID to get some assistance up to $30,000. And the last thing I have on my report is what I talked about last month, and that's continuing to address homelessness among older adults, because it's still the fastest growing demographic. Continually, older adults on fixed incomes have rent increases that they can't afford. This is going to be my focus over the next year, working on that. So Needless to say, there's a lot of things going on with homelessness always. I just try to get the hot topics, but I'd love to see, I've seen a few board members already sign up if you're available to help with the homeless count. And if you have any questions, I can talk to you offline so I don't take up too much time for the meeting. That's it for my report.
Thank you. Anyone around the table that might have a question, comment? Chris?
You mentioned that they're not providing the breakdown by area. Does that, you think, well, is it reasonable to think that that number might exist and they simply just haven't taken it? It might be accessible, that even if they're not like forthcoming in providing?
I don't know if our council member can address that himself, but my understanding is it's the way the data is reported. They don't want to drill down to that level. Honestly, Chris, I don't understand it. It's really difficult for us to see if we're making progress when we can't compare numbers. So we continually to ask them to try and provide it. So
I think you're right that maybe some political pressure to get that, because now that everything in the world is so data driven, I mean, how could that not be very useful? Because here versus Venice versus downtown versus the Valley, it's not the same situation, not the same solutions.
We are data driven, and at the same time, I just say let's just keep helping as many people as we can.
Yeah. But, you know, metrics are still...
I know metrics are important.
At the very least, I think politically people are used to being able to get some kind of feedback. Like when, you know, they announced 21,000 people have been moved off the streets, that's at least a concrete number that gives you some concept. Like, and I think that in an individual area, you know, especially one that's kind of geographically isolated like Pedro, we could use that.
So, you know, I get asked a lot, how accurate is the homeless count? To which I chuckle. This is not a scientific process, okay? My guess is maybe 70% accurate. And people say, oh, too high, too low? And I'm like, yes. I don't know. It's anybody's guess, okay? It is just not... I don't know if there's a better way to do this. I know that City Council, all of LA City Councils, I believe, are looking into trying to find better ways to get measurements. I knew I'd draw you up here.
It's one of the greatest areas of frustration. You know, I just recently had a meeting with Supervisor Horvath, who's now taking over the chair of LAHSA, and it was her check-in with me and the other council members to say, what are your greatest needs? You know, what's working, what's not working at LAHSA? And while I had a long list, I said, really, our greatest challenge is that there is no transparency. Well, there's not enough transparency, but I would say no transparency on what you just asked about, and really the breakdown of, you know, what does it mean when we say 21,000 people coming in? I mean, coming from where, and and going to where? And I think that we are with the leadership of the mayor and with the leadership of Janice Hahn and the leadership of Lindsay Horvath, I think we are changing the culture and getting to a place where we're going to have greater transparency and greater visibility on what it means to say that people have come in, where are they coming from, where are they going into, what are the services that they're getting. Because frankly, we can't keep going back to the constituents and saying, give us more money for this, unless people know what's happening. And so I'm going to credit the current leadership. I'm not going to blame the current leadership, but we've had 30 or 40 years of a lack of transparency, and I think we're breaking through that now.
Yeah, I think that's the point I was trying to make, is that now it seems like the storytelling aspect of it, which is what I happen to do, and how I've come to learn what little I know, is that when you can be more specific, you can explain the process, like this is possibly how this person got here, this is what we're doing, this is what their needs are, and people feel better about the process when it's just less opaque. Like when, you know, it's not perfect, it's not miraculous, but you can show them this is where the work is, and I think then you get more political support to encourage those things when people have more than just their own frustration to kind of chew on.
I think that's right, and I think that folks are getting on that page and moving towards greater transparency.
And keep in mind how much data is duplicated. Oh, if they say 22,000 people got housed, okay? how many of those were housed and went out of housing and then you were housed again? And the word housed is used interchangeably with sheltered. I don't consider somebody put in a shelter as being housed. So to your point, you have to break down even that data further, and how important is that data. I just know that I have no power over this. I'm just going to keep trying to help people one person at a time.
Thanks. Craig?
Yeah, I wonder about the count this year, because all these events where they've cleared out homeless encampments, they've taken some people off the street, but they've forced other people onto the street. And where they were in encampments before, now they've been spread out. I've seen half the people that were up on Westmont by the Field of Dreams, all over San Pedro and down in Harbor City, and I see the ones that could move their RVs out of there move there. The biggest problem I've seen is, we did a study on what is coming in play, and yeah, there's more housing being built in CD 15, but that housing is nowhere near the level to take the people off the street. And we have this thing where, they're giving them vouchers to go into basically transient hotels, motels. Who do you think is living in those hotels and motels now? They're people that are paying rent to live there temporarily, and those people don't have those vouchers, so they end up on the street because they're being forced out because they have people that will pay vouchers and have the vouchers and pay more. So it's like this thing, and we have this plan to house people, but it's not really complete. And we're not looking at, the people that want to stay in their RVs, and we're not providing enough support. People are walking along the street shivering today. And I don't think that, you can do the count and the numbers will go down or the numbers will go up, but I don't think they reflect what's really happening. Is I don't expect everything to change today. But when I go down to the corner from where I live and I see a sign saying, homeless cannot camp out within 500 feet of here, I don't think I solved anything. I just moved them down the road. And I think that we as a council and as CD15 need to step up and do more and be more proactive in this. Yeah, the mayor's taking a lead, but the real truth is we need to push harder to get more resources available to people. We need to, stop it at one point where people are starting to go into the street, and we need to we need to be approaching the people that are in the street and finding more resources for them. And not that, we built so many tiny homes and then we stopped. We do this, we keep doing little bits, and it doesn't seem to go far enough. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Craig. And to my knowledge, vouchers are not for interim housing. They're just for actual housing. But the fact is that people are becoming homeless at a faster rate than we can house them. That's part of the economy. And Craig, what I was saying is, these people need help too. You can't just put them in a house and they've been on the street and now they can live life. They need wraparound services, and we don't have enough staffing to keep people. So we'll get them placed and they end up back on the street because they don't have the life skills to stay in this housing. Everything you say is true. And this is why I retired. Can you tell I'm retired?
Any other comments around the table? Go ahead.
Well, for the mayor's office, back in 2020, the city controller at the time really was bolstering data. And I remember looking at maps with all sorts of really excellently covered data. And I am shocked that the homelessness count is not divided by council district. I mean, even with traffic and traffic accidents, you can divide it by district, and it provided the gift of targeting the worst accident-prone, deadly intersections. And I've got to honestly say that I don't know where the budget went for that. I don't know why the push has seemed to change or if the rules have changed, but I'm hoping that Karen Bass can make a significant effort in the mapping of data.
I believe she is, especially with the RV encampment push. But I do believe the data is available by council district, but we don't know a breakdown between San Pedro, Watts, Harbor City. But right, yeah.
So
and I believe that the mayor, is making great inroads. But it's so big, it's so complex.
But the data, I've been on the homeless, the overnight thing, and we're actually delineating intersections and where people have been found. So, I mean, you can actually pinpoint on maps where things have happened. So I don't understand why those pinpoints aren't available on a map.
And that's why, to my understanding, the pathway home with the county and the inside safe with the city is prioritizing those types of things. Am I right? Okay.
Well, yeah.
Enough.
Okay. Well, we're through around the table. I just got an opportunity from the audience to make a comment, ask a question. I see no hands. Thank you, Lori, for all your hard work. Really appreciate it. Okay, that takes care of agenda item number 3. We're going to go on to the consent calendar. We have one item under the consent calendar, and that's to approve the minutes. Can I get a motion?
I move.
Seconded.
Melanie moved. Chris second. Any discussion? Any corrections? Anything?
No.
No? I don't see any. So let's go ahead and take a vote count.
Okay, Leila Aguilar.
Yes.
John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Craig Goldfarb.
Abstain.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, it's 10 ayes, 1 abstention.
Okay. That closes agenda item number 5. Let's go to item 6. These are the various motions on the table. Budget and finance. Melanie, go ahead.
Okay. The MER is a separate page that you should have received on a separate supplement that was laying over there if you didn't get it. It didn't get printed out in the packet, so it's here. Everybody got it? All set?
Yeah.
So this is not out of committee because we didn't get it until 2:30 this afternoon. So, yeah. Anyway, so right now we have net available $25,117.39. Do I have someone move this?
Moved.
Craig?
Second.
Okay.
No.
And a second?
John Barbera.
John? Okay. And so any discussion further? No? Call for the vote. Lila?
Yes.
Layla? John?
Yes.
Vic?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
And Chris Valle?
Yes.
Abby? Or wait, no, Abby can't because she's not 18. Oops. And Michael?
Yes.
Okay, and then the next item is the budget, which is on sees it, let me know. Please tell me it's in here because I sent it to her. Anybody see it?
It's not part of the agenda?
Yes, here we go. It's the budget 29, page 29. So, on this, this is our budget, and we have the only payout that we did was the mostly administration stuff. So in outreach right now, we have left $5,740.42 in the unallocated. And we're still waiting for reprinting to get back to us on the appraisal still. So, for the newsletter, but hopefully we'll be good on that. But otherwise, we're doing okay on the budget. So this is out of committee. And so...
Okay, any comment?
Any comments?
Questions?
Okay, so call for the vote. Layla?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Victor?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Chris Vallier?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
Okay, and that's it.
Okay. That takes care of agenda item 6A. Going to 6B, planning and land use. Diana?
Good evening. Thank you. Just as a quick one tonight, you probably all remember the long struggle we had on Ponte Vista, where we wound up with a specific plan being approved for up to 700 units, which was a significant reduction from the nearly 2,300 units that were originally proposed. And you've probably all noticed as you drive down Western that much of Ponte Vista is now under construction. In fact, all but 2 small sub-areas are currently under construction. To date, they've sold, or as of the time we had our committee meeting, they'd sold 238 homes that were actually occupied, including all of the single-family homes. The 2 areas where construction is not started are sub-areas 4A and a part of area 5. So tonight you have a motion before you which relates to sub-area 4, where Meritage Homes plans to build 54 3- and 4-bedroom energy-efficient homes with 2 car garages. And the requested support is for project permit compliance and a project permit adjustments. The adjustments are needed because the specific plan is very, very specific with regards to a number of things, including the placement of the homes on the lots and the required setbacks. But because of the way the streets were built and the way it curves on the property, the builder needs to make some minor adjustments to those setbacks, and that's what the requested approval was for. So there's no change in the number of units, there's no change in the layout really, just some minor setbacks. So the motion is a very simple one. It's actually exactly as written on the agenda, which is to recommend approval of the project permit compliance and project permit adjustment for Ponte Vista Sub-Area 4. And that's the motion before you.
Okay. Out of committee, so any comments? Craig?
I voted against this in committee, and I didn't find, there were 2 things that concerned me when we met with Ponte Vista. One was they're sitting there, and I asked them, if you don't get this setback, what will you do? And they said to me, oh, we'll just build it and somebody will have to deal with, not having enough space to back up. And I was saying, that doesn't sound right to me. And the whole meeting was really very strange. On top of that, I've been hearing a lot of complaints from stakeholders about how this project looks. It doesn't look like we saw in all these meetings, many of them here, showing us the profile of it. And what further concerned me was we were in the meeting and they said, we're going to make a change to another part of this thing. Do we need to come back? And Diana said, they asked Diana, she didn't ask anybody in the committee. She said no. And my feeling is we haven't had a meeting or anybody speak to us about Ponte Vista. And I'm not the only one that has heard complaints on this board, I'm sure, about how the project looks. And I'm wondering what we don't know of what was going on. I mean, yeah, it's smaller than it was, but it doesn't look like what I remember them showing us. So I don't feel inclined to support this, and I don't think the board should support it, but it's up to you. But I think we do, as a board, need to look at the role of the chair of that committee and what's being come to the board and what's not being come, because something like a change in that plan and the stuff that's going on, if we don't know about it and our stakeholders are complaining that it's looking awful and there's other things going on with it, I think we need to reevaluate these things.
Thank you, Craig. Any other comments around the table? Okay, we'll start with Chris, Melanie, and then Kelly.
And this is just to clarify, and I think you covered it, but it's essentially this is kind of we talk about the setback. It's the distance from the structure to the street, the right of way. And so we're talking about some kind of technical adjustment they need to make because was it that construction didn't go to spec, or did they not build to spec, or why does it not fit what they?
It hasn't been constructed. It's before construction. Right. It's because of the way the curve in the street. The streets were built by one builder. Somebody else is building the buildings, right. And they found that they needed a 1 foot additional setback in a couple areas, and in other areas they needed less setback as a result of the curve in the street.
So this was just
it's a technical adjustment.
Discrepancy between two contractors.
Right, and it's the kind of thing that can be done by an administrative approval of the department. It doesn't require a public hearing or anything.
Okay. But so essentially, it might not look any different to any of us, but if you're trying to do a U-turn, you might be able to.
Right. The main difference was as Craig was actually alluding to in this one particular building, that getting in and out of the parking would be more difficult if they didn't have the additional setback.
Okay. Thanks.
Melanie?
Yeah. Just on what Craig said, I mean, to you, Diana, what they're building doesn't look like what they were presenting to us originally. The single homes do kind of, but those other things that they're building don't. And they're right on top of each other where they could wave to each other from the toilet.
We kind of knew that going in. In fact, Craig, Ray will remember that at the public hearing, we tried to get some of that altered even more because they were so close together. That was a concern of ours. Even after it got down to the less than 700 units, we were still concerned about how close they were to each other.
Yeah, they're really
and we
close.
raised that at the public hearing.
And on clarification on this, are they, maybe I'm just reading this wrong, are they asking to add 54 more units too?
No, the 54 is within their envelope.
It's within the original number.
Right. In fact, the total that they're planning to build is still below what they actually could build given their original approval.
Okay.
So yeah,
it's just,
I mean, can you imagine if they'd gotten the 2,300 units, what it would look like? I can't even imagine it when you see how close together the units are now.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I can't wait to see the apartments that they're supposed to build.
Kelly?
My question was about the 50 mark. Mine was.
Gwen?
So what Craig had discussed, is there a driveway issue where it may be unsafe for a car to turn out into traffic?
This is buried within the development, so you're not talking about turning out onto Western. But there is this one unit that at least would be difficult. I can't say that it would be unsafe, because I don't know that. But if they don't get the adjustment, it would be difficult for the cars getting in and out of that one driveway.
And this is going to remedy that?
And that's why they're asking for the adjustment.
Okay. I see no other hands from around the table, so Pat, you're up.
Excuse me. Diane didn't mention it, but there's one house on one corner where the street curves around that is needs 1 foot less setback right on the corner. There's other lots where there's more room, and so the setback will be greater than what they're required to do. So it's a net gain for setbacks, for people who like setbacks. As for the other thing that was mentioned about future stuff, they raised an issue at the meeting about the height of walls connecting a couple of units in a new part of the project that's going to be provided, and the view was that it's a gain for everybody, and that it was an administrative change.
Okay. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands, so can we go ahead and go for the vote?
Okay, Leila Aguilar.
Yes.
John Barbera. Yes. Vic Christensen, aye. Craig Goldfarb.
Nay.
Gwen Henry.
Aye.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Aye.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Chris Valley.
Yes.
Okay, 10 ayes and 1 nay.
Can I ask one quick question, though?
Thank you.
Can I
Thank you,
ask
Diana.
one quick question? Is our newsletter going to add the 84 residents that are already there in the single-family homes, and are we already on top of sending newsletters to those people who are already residents of the communities?
I'll be honest with you, I had a hard time understanding what you were asking.
The newsletter. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, got it. All right.
I don't know if there's an extra count.
Yeah.
An increase in newsletters.
Moving on. Okay, great. That takes care of item number 6B. We're going to go on to item 6C. And we have 2 items to be considered. We'll start off with number 1, and that is the fees for the north parking lot adjacent to the Los Angeles Maritime Museum. I got to quit saying that. So the updated letter is listed there on your in your package on page 14. I'll quickly read it. This letter is from Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council. Is written to express our concern regarding fees now required at the north parking lot adjacent to the Marine, it's supposed to be Maritime Museum. I'll fix that. At the foot of 6th Street. Members of the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council have received inquiries as to why the lot is requiring fees to be paid just to walk the promenade. Recently opened to the public, the Port of Los Angeles and the developers of West Harbor invited the public to enjoy the waterfront when the promenade was completed. Community and visitors to San Pedro have slowly taken advantage of the opportunity. In November 2021, Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council wrote to Jericho Development asking the newly opened north lot to be accessible to the public, and we do appreciate the efforts in complying with the request. Now we are requesting that such that until such a time that West Harbor is fully developed, the parking lot fees to the be free to the public. Sorry about that. With the possible exception of special events. The promenade and parking lot were funded under the Public Access Improvement Plan. The resulting promenade does indeed provide wonderful public access to the waterfront. However, charging for parking hinders that access, serves as a disincentive for public members who simply want to take a walk, and that takes away a public and community benefit. We appreciate your consideration of this request. Now, just to put a kind of a period to it, I was emailed earlier today by Alan Johnson. He said that he wanted to be here, as he indicated last month, but is under the weather, so he was unable to attend. He said that he will be here next month to address and give his reason why it's important to charge for parking.
Do we want to hold this until?
I personally would, my opinion, I would personally like to get this sent off to him so that they actually know how we feel about this. This is something that we have heard from members of the community, that they don't understand why we have to pay simply to park and take a walk.
Yeah.
Well, someone's got to pay for that on the construction.
So
Who wants to walk down there? There's nothing there.
it doesn't make sense to many people in the community. So this is a public benefit. I'll be right with you,
We need
Craig.
a motion.
This is a public benefit. This is a community benefit, and the reason why we have to pay for that goes beyond my understanding, goes beyond the understanding of many people. When again, the benefit that you're getting is enjoying the promenade, is walking that promenade, the thing that they asked us to do when they opened it, to enjoy it.
But I got to pay
I
them so I can
still
take
have a
walk.
hard time understanding why we have to pay for that privilege. Anyway, with that said, open. This came out of committee. Open for comments, questions. Craig, I saw your hand first, and then we'll move around. Did you have a question? Did I see your hand up?
I did.
I saw Melanie's. Okay, so Craig and then
Yeah.
Melanie.
So, I mean, we're all on this. I think we were all on the same page with this when we spoke about this before. I looked at the lease agreement, and that all of it, the promenade was leased to them. They basically have to maintain it, for some stuff. But they've made it clear that, they don't want bikes on there. Then they said, if somebody complains, we'll let people ride bikes on there now. But in the connectivity plan, it shows that as being bikes. But I don't understand where the public benefit is in this whole project. And I don't see Jericho. They're planning to make money out of every single thing here.
Yeah.
It was my looking at the promenade is it was port money, which is our money. It was supposed to be so that we could enjoy this small section of the port, and it isn't. And when Jericho Johnson showed up to the meeting, and his attitude seemed to be he wouldn't even sit with us at the table. He sat behind us, and I don't think he really gets the community. So there was things I wanted to change in this letter, which I will recommend as a motion, is instead of having until such time West Harbor is fully developed, the parking, we take that out and just say that the lot should be free to the public to use because I think that we should have some place we can go. And I also think that we should add into this that because one of their feelings was oh, people are parking over there for the boat trips, half-day boats or whatever, the tours and things. Then just put a 2-hour limit on parking there, and we can put it in there. We can add that in. We would like to request it, and I think we should request from them in this letter. We'd like to request that you form a community advisory group so the community can give you more direct input and advice. We're not part of this project. They come to us and show us things and say, approve it.
Yeah.
Where's our input? Where do we get to go and say, hey, I think our stakeholders would like a little bit more access, or, and what was really funny about this day was it took me extra time to get there because Harbor Boulevard is, all the trucks were turning. They were coming off the freeway and they're coming off of Harbor Boulevard and turning into China shipping. And I'm sitting there saying, when this project happens and we start having traffic problems and people are looking for places to park and they're circling around because they don't want to pay $10 an hour or $15 a day or whatever they're going to charge, what are we going to do? If we're going to get them to back off, we're going to have to be strong now.
Yeah.
So my suggestion, I'd like to make that as an amendment. I scribbled that there and then. So I make that motion.
I second.
So read that back, what you want to do, Craig.
I second.
Well, I'd like to hear it restated.
Wait.
Hold on. Let her,
I want to hear what he wants. I can't hear you, Cheryl.
Mike, use the mic.
We have a
The
mic
mic
over
too,
here.
please.
Here. Right here. Grab that mic right there.
Just run up here to this one and stand as far as I can. Good Lord. Okay, I'm blind, don't mind me. So the second paragraph he's changing, so it goes. No, not yet, because I haven't found it yet. Okay. Now we are, second sentence. Y'all with me now?
No, members of NWSPNC is being changed?
No, hold on. Second sentence, he still has, now we are requesting that.
On the second paragraph. Okay.
The yellow part you're taking out.
And deleting the words, until such time as West Harbor is fully developed, the parking. Deleting that sentence, those words, and instead putting that the parking lot be free to the public. And then, so he's substituting really, for taking out all those other words. And then, further down, access plan, that's the, so looks like the fourth sentence, starting with, in the middle of the paragraph, the resulting promenade. So long.
I'm sorry.
It's me. You read it, because,
Okay, and then waterfront. The resulting promenade does indeed provide for public access to the waterfront and the Maritime Museum. We need to make sure that part of the stuff that the Johnsons have been saying, or when he comes to the meeting, is he wants to get rid of the Maritime Museum, move the exhibits out, and somewhere, sometime, mysteriously have it happen. And then the other one I would like further to ameliorate any parking problems due to the uses, to other uses, that a 2-hour time limit be put on the parking. That would give us ample time to both enjoy the walk and the museum. Yeah. And we would also like to request that would like to request that you form a community advisory group so the community can give you more direct input and advice.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Do you have the 2-hour parking in there, Craig? Yeah. Okay.
Does it say 2-hour free parking or just 2-hour
Yeah,
parking?
2-hour free, and then you charge after.
Yeah, 2 hours
No, I mean,
free.
it needs to be explicit.
Okay, we could add that.
Free parking. That sounded good. Free 2-hour.
2-hour time limit
Time limit.
for free parking.
Yeah. I'm not so sure.
Much like shopping malls and many other places of delight.
If to further that, part of their thing was they were supposed to be like the other facilities around.
Yeah.
And the other facility, like the bikes, you go to Long Beach, you can bike all up and down there, but they're saying, oh no, you can't here.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So yes, he
I
did.
do.
Wait. Hang on.
He did visit the Port Sustainability and Environmental Committee, and yes, we all expressed concerns
Yeah.
regarding all of the things that Craig had discussed. And thank you for composing this letter. But we would like to go further with a lot of that. That was kind of the consensus of many of our committee members. So I agree with this amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as you have the information there, I mean,
And the Maritime Museum, the Maritime Museum was a very specific thing. That was of great concern, is the removal of the Maritime Museum.
And
removal.
for my comment, Ray, everything that Craig said is what we had agreed on at the executive board committee, but we didn't change the letter because we wanted to make sure that we got it all together, and we all agreed on it. The other thing is, too, one of the things that I brought up is, some of us sometimes don't like to go sit in a restaurant and eat, and there's some really cool restaurants that are opening up there. There's a really good Mexican restaurant that's opening up there, plus the Yamaguchi, whatever. And my husband and I, a lot of times, will go get food and get it takeout and go sit in the park or somewhere and eat it rather than sitting in a restaurant. And you're going to have to pay $15 to park to go get your takeout food? Because that's the way it is set up right now.
Chris is next, but I would suggest that each and every one of you actually take a look at the plan and look what you're in store for. Really take a serious look at what you're in store for. I'm sorry. I was suggesting that each and every one of you look at the plan, see who's going in there, and understand exactly what you're in store for when you get West Harbor. Because that's what you're going to get. However, Chris is next. So,
I think everybody's made great points, and to me, it all kind of bundles up into we may actually be backhandedly doing them a favor by kind of explaining to them how this place works and how the community works. If you think of examples where there's similar sort of waterfront attractions, mixed use or whatever, downtown Long Beach, Santa Monica, other places, most of those places have some free parking somewhere.
Yeah.
If your West Harbor is going to be in competition with Long Beach, for instance, and there's free parking in Long Beach, and they've already sorted out their traffic flow problems, which we haven't and may never do, West Harbor's in trouble if I have to circle the block twice, I'm going across the bridge to Long Beach to get my dinner, or whatever. And not that on top of the fact that as the community that, should have some stake literally in what happens at the port, I think it's important for us to push back against the concept that they can simply, regardless of what's in their agreement with the Port of Los Angeles, that they can simply have it all and then sell it back to us. Like to even get out and walk around, or to have any, like to whatever their intent is towards the museum. I think just politically we should push back now and let them know that, I mean, much like our relationship with Target, where they've become kind of a bad neighbor, and we have to continually bicker about the most simple issues of maintenance and their presence in the community, before West Harbor is even really built. I think it's a good idea for us to make a statement of intent. It's like, this is kind of what we expect to see out of this project. This is how we expect you to deal with us. And so, you know, and if we can in the process do them a favor by helping direct business to their development, which they're going to have a problem with. When a ship comes in, when, you know, a car flips over on 110 or whatever, no one's going to be able to get in or out. So the last thing you should then ask is, hey, give me another $15 before you can even get out of the car. So I think it probably helps everybody.
So if I could maybe add the last point to this. There is a suggestion on the table about a community action or a community advisory committee. If the Johnsons are here next month, I truly believe that since we're putting that in the letter, we should have the strategy behind a community action or a community advisory group in, you know, placed by a motion or something, so that this is going to be our motion to them next month. So I truly believe that there needs to be a strategy developed between now and then, so that we can tell them this is what this community advisory committee looks like, and develop the makeup of what it is. Similar.
Do you want to point of ad hoc committee?
Well, let me just make the point, but I was kind of going there.
Okay, sorry.
Because when the Vincent Thomas Bridge project came about, and we had outside developer by the name of Caltrans come in, the last thing they wanted was a community advisory committee. And guess what? We have that community advisory committee, but it's going to take strategy in getting all the community in tune to that. In other words, your strategy has to also take into consideration central, coastal, Harbor City, Wilmington, because all these communities are going to be coming there to enjoy that.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that committee look into these partnerships, look into look into what that advisory committee can do. But the biggest piece of it would be something that, Craig, I think you mentioned once at the executive committee, but it's so that we get timely information from the project as opposed to reacting to the project.
Exactly.
So I'm just throwing that part out, which I'm saying what we can do now is go for the changes in the letter, get that letter developed and ready to go to, but maybe we should have that ad hoc committee to look at what that community action or community advisory group can be and have it in place. So we have a plan next month that we can ask for, and it's been passed, and this is what we want, with strategic partnerships with other neighborhood councils.
Right. Still send this letter. No.
Yes, this is the opening salvo.
Yeah.
Right. Is it possible to agendize that for the next Port Environment and Sustainability Committee? Put it on the agenda.
Agenda is what?
Discussing the actual points and validity for creating a community advisory committee.
Well,
that we can prepare.
It could go with whoever committee is going to take the effort, but you got to make sure that we have the plan developed and ready to go for next month. Yeah. It can't just be sitting there. It's got to be acted on right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that, I don't know, whoever would take that as a committee assignment, we can't wait till the next time it meets, the group, because the next time it meets, you're only going to meet once, usually, because that's the way it works. So unless there's a commitment by Port and the Sustainability Committee that you're going to work on this and it's going to have a finished product by then, fine. I don't have a problem with that. However, an ad hoc committee gives a lot of flexibility to meet as often as you need to get that thing developed and work with your partners.
And no
But it's
72-hour notice.
it's got to be done by next month. There is a strategic value that it can do that. So that was what I would say. I'm going to suggest that ad hoc committee be members of the Port, community issues, sustainability, if you like, and the community, and let's get that thing going. And tell me who you want on it so we can put it into place right now. We get the letter passed, and with the changes, and we get an ad hoc committee going so that they start working on this right now, because it's got to be done. And get your allies in place right away.
Well, who would be interested?
I'm sorry?
Who is interested?
Okay, let's do the first things first.
Okay.
Let's pass the letter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
pass
get
the letter. I believe we have a motion.
Yeah.
Who seconded it?
For the amendment. I seconded it.
I moved it. Who seconded it?
I seconded it. I seconded the amendment.
We have an emotion by Craig,
To amend.
second by Melanie to amend. We do not have the final letter yet.
So we're going to vote on the amendments, and then we'll vote for the amended letter.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then we got to make sure that letter gets done and sent out.
I seconded it.
So for the amendments, Craig, motion for the amended
Craig
language. I'm sorry. Who?
I did.
I seconded it because
Okay, Melanie, second. Any discussion? No discussion?
Already had-
Let's go ahead and vote.
Okay, Leila Aguilar.
Yes.
John Barbera. Yes. Doug Christensen, aye. Craig Goldfarb.
Aye.
Gwen Henry.
Aye.
Melanie Ulbrich.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Unanimous with 11.
Good. So
Can I-
the amendments have been voted on. Now we're going to vote for the amended letter. Okay?
Does it need a motion?
So,
Was that considered out
Do-
of
do-
committee?
It's out of
Or was that
committee.
First or second? Okay.
It's out of
the
committee
amended letter
already.
is not out of committee.
No.
We just
I
did it
would
right
like
now. So
to
we need a
motion
We
that
passed
this
the amendment.
new
I think
amendment-
you just vote on it because you've already, you amended the letter. The amendments have been approved. It already came out of committee. It doesn't make.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to move it. There we just,
whatever.
yeah. I say take the vote.
Okay. Well, we need to have discussion on it. If it's any discussion?
That was only an amendment, but.
No?
I think we've discussed it.
No? Okay, fine.
We had the discussion before. the
No,
motion.
that's fine. I just feel like I need to say it as part of the process.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's said, it's done.
Okay. On the letter as amended, Leila Aguilar.
Yes.
John Barbera.
Yes.
Dick Christensen, aye. Craig Goldfarb.
Aye.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
And it's unanimous.
Okay,
May I
we
make
have an amended letter. That goes out as soon as possible, and you'll see that there are people that we're going to copy that, so we want to make sure that that gets in there. This is going to Jericho, so let's make sure that the port gets sent so that they know
And
what
the
our wishes
commissioners.
are.
And the commissioners, yeah?
And the commission, yeah, and CD15.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe the CCs should be,
I'm sorry?
I believe that not all those CCs are in there, is it? Yeah, the commissioners, okay. Do we have to make a motion for an ad hoc committee?
Wait, hang on a second. I just want to make sure that we follow through with the letter and we get it out as quickly as possible. I would appreciate someone maybe following up with that. Anyone? Craig?
I'll follow. So, yeah, okay.
Okay.
You've got it down there. We'll talk.
Because what I want to do, just so that, I want to present this to the port at the next president's port meeting so that they understand that we're not happy with that. They're going to say it's not in their, area of responsibility, but you know what?
It's
their
never been
stuff.
their area.
Their money.
Yeah, so, okay, so now, ad hoc committee.
Motion.
Let's,
I move that we create an ad hoc committee
okay.
for this.
I second that.
Gwen second,
Thought I
motion,
said it before.
discussion, no discussion. Let's take a vote count on an ad hoc committee. I believe I could just. Never mind, go ahead.
Ad hoc advisory committee for
For creating a community advisory committee.
Maybe not quite so specific as to just parking, but an ad hoc committee about
Advisory
community
for
relations
West-
with West Harbor
West
Development.
Harbor.
Yeah.
Ad
Community.
hoc West Harbor committee.
Yeah, that would make it just West Harbor's ad hoc committee.
Community
Nice, I'm up.
Advisory Committee. How
Yeah.
about West Harbor Advisory Committee?
Yep.
WAC for short.
Yep. Wax for short.
Okay. All right, go. Vote.
Well, any discussion? We
I
have
thought
to have
we were doing
volunteers,
this
do we
right
not?
now. Go ahead.
Well, Ray points them, so.
So go ahead. Well,
A date of meeting, a first date of
We
meeting.
need committee members first.
Yeah, let's.
who wants to be on that committee?
May I make a suggestion for a day?
A day?
A day and time for the first
To
meeting?
me, no. It's the committee meetings need to form it on their own so that everyone has the ability.
It's up to the committee to come up with the dates that are available.
You guys do it. So, Gwen, you want to be in it?
Yes.
Craig?
Pat?
Anyone else?
Yes.
Anyone else?
Pat, would you be interested? No? Okay.
Any-
No.
I think, in all fairness, we need at least one more person to be part of this thing.
Unfortunately, we have fewer people here. Melanie, would you be interested?
Anyone?
I'm not going to add something more on my plate right
Okay.
now.
All right. Then, Gwen, Craig, you're it then. But I have all the confidence in the world that you guys will knock it out of the park. So, okay.
It wouldn't preclude them from adding people. There.
Right.
Is it okay for recruiting, so to speak, to happen
Absolutely.
after the meeting?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they probably need to get
You
people
have
from
you
other
have-
LCs.
I bestow the power to recruit others. But we got to make sure, got to be careful about quorum.
Is this
I can report from, we can go to the other neighborhood councils and ask
Yes.
them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I highly recommend that you get somebody from Coastal, maybe in Central, and maybe Harbor City or Wilmington,
somebody.
and stuff, and get them involved.
There's somebody who generally comes to our meetings.
So-
We could possibly
so
do it at the same.
Let's go ahead and
day.
get that. You guys fill in the details, but the only requirement is we got to have something by next month for our meeting. Okay? All right.
time check? It's 8:25.
Yeah. So, quick, go for the vote. Yes. Vote.
For the ad hoc committee formation, Leila Aguilar.
Yes.
John Barbera.
Yes.
Dick Christensen, aye. Craig Goldfarb.
Aye.
Gwen Henry.
Aye.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Aye.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Chris Fahey.
Yes.
All right. It's unanimous.
Okay. That takes care of that item. Item number 2 on the motion from the executive committee. Mr. Christensen?
I'd like to move that we move this to the next meeting.
I'd like to hear if Mr. Christensen is up for that. And actually, I think we have an importance to at least to consider the reconsideration of the vote we did last month. We should take that today.
Yes. Yes, we should.
It's a quorum, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not
We're talking about just for the reconsideration.
We're not talking. Okay, hold on.
Are we just for clarification?
I will say it.
What do we say?
I will explain.
Yeah.
And that's exactly part of the reason. Okay, this is a motion to reconsider the vote that we took last month on the resolution to allow this neighborhood council to use virtual meetings as an option in accordance with Senate Bill 411. And the reason I guess technically I should move it, and then somebody needs to second before we get to discussion.
I would like a second after.
I second.
Okay.
Gwen moved. I second.
No, I moved.
Oh, you moved?
He moved. I seconded.
So did Gwen second, or did Mel? Melanie?
I did. You looked at me when I did it. So.
Okay. Her?
Yeah.
You?
Me.
Okay. I don't care. I
Doesn't
just
matter to
need the
me.
name to put down. Okay. And the reason is because we did not have all of a combination of things. We didn't have all the board members here. We also, and, Craig was one. That's why I said I would get to that, because that was part of the reason. And we don't, again, now we have different people out, but we still don't have everybody here. Plus we have one vacant seat. I also have new information that was not presented at the last meeting, which is legitimate grounds in itself for reconsidering. And part of that is I think there was some possibly misunderstanding on what the resolution actually did and what SB 411 actually did. I put some information out on the, where the documents are posted for the agenda packet, and it was in the agenda packet that was printed too. But we didn't go through those in detail because it would have taken even longer, but with some of the comments that were made, I think people may have misunderstood what it actually means and what would happen if the resolution that was put forth last month passed. As part of gauging that, I have a question of who can tell me if we were to go through the process and redo the vote, redo everything on the resolution we did last month, and it passed today. Who can tell me what would change about the meetings, about the way we held meetings tomorrow? Can anybody tell me what would happen if we voted yes and we allowed virtual meetings in accordance with SB 411 today? What would change tomorrow in the way we held meetings?
Nothing.
Anybody?
Nothing.
Not so much change, but I don't get the whole format. But the other thing is, if we're going to do this, what's the budget? This is a budget item because we have to buy equipment.
Okay, okay, that's good. I'm glad you said that. A couple people said nothing. That is the right answer. Nothing. The only thing that passing the resolution that is up, that was in the agenda packet and that we had last month, is that we are authorized, and the way I put it is inspired, not required. We are authorized to be able to go to have up to 100% virtual meetings if we so choose. Now, in our case, we don't do hybrid, so we can't do it right now. So we would either, if we didn't do in person, it would be 100% virtual, just like it was before they cut us off and did that. So there would be no expense for equipment and that sort of thing because it would be 100% hybrid, or 100% virtual. Now, the hybrid part has to wait until we get to a totally separate issue, because that's where SB or Council File 1113 comes in, where Dunn comes back with a report on how we could fund the equipment to do that sort of thing. So this would be no expense to go back from in-person to virtual. And it also, approving the resolution to allow it does not mean we have to do it every meeting. Does not mean that each committee, that everybody has to do the same thing. In my opinion, each committee could decide whether they wanted to go virtual or not. So it just gives those options that are available, or it adds to the options that are available. It doesn't require that we actually do it. And even if we don't do it in the short term, and the board would be a separate decision from the committees. So you could have 2 or 3 committees that wanted to go back to virtual, and the other committees may not want to, and they might want to stay in person. That's fine. That can be done. So it's up to the committees to decide how they'd want to do it. And I don't know if we want to get into all this detail, but I put a couple of graphs in the agenda packet that go back all the way to June of 2020, which is the first meeting we had virtually after the 2-month gap after they said it had to be virtual and not in person anymore. So there was some downtime in between the in-person only and the virtual only. And if you look at that, it looks like somebody took a bunch of colored string and threw it down. But there is a vertical line that is the end of where we were virtual and had to go back to in-person. And when you look at those squiggly lines, they kind of go back and forth, and there's various amounts of attendance during the virtual only, and then it drops. Once we go back to in-person, it drops significantly. Even the board meeting trended downwards. So because you have the drastic difference that is proven by objective data, that is why I think it needs to be reconsidered, and also to better explain what the ramifications of approving that resolution are on how we would hold our meetings.
I don't understand why we're going back on something that we already voted.
I just told you.
But we've already voted on it. Why do we have to hear it again?
Because the whole board wasn't here.
Whole point.
New information.
New information, and the whole board wasn't here, and ideally, I would like to see the vacant seat filled before we do it and have everybody here.
So, okay, if I can get some clarity, Vic, I think we discussed that all we're asking is that we give permission to reconsider the piece, which means that is all we're going to do.
Yeah, we're not
because we don't have the members to redo the vote.
Not
this
tonight.
month. Well, I mean, we don't have enough right now.
It's a 2/3, correct?
It's
Correct.
2/3.
Yes.
2/3 on the original motion.
Yeah. So tonight we just need to have
No,
you agree that we can
if
bring
you
this
could
up
bring
at
it
a
up
future
within
meeting to
the
reconsider
original meeting. Point of the way you can have a majority vote in this meeting, and it would pass it. In the original meeting, to do a reconsideration, you'd have to have the majority of the people that voted against it vote for the reconsideration.
For the reconsideration only.
In that meeting. But in this meeting, you can bring it up again and vote for it.
You can bring it up, but I don't think we can actually have a vote to reconsider it until we have everyone here to
Right.
get the actual two-thirds.
We have to have a vote to be able to bring
Is it a
back to the
two-third
next
vote to
agenda.
have a virtual meeting? Or is this on?
So the reconsideration is just majority,
majority
here,
of who's
but
present.
then once it's up for reconsideration, it has to be two-thirds of whoever's.
Right.
present.
SB 411 requires that two-thirds of the seats, not two-thirds of the attendees,
Right. And we
vote yes to be able to do.
So,
But tonight, all we're asking is for a vote to bring it up at
Back on
a
the
future board meeting
and it's going to have to be next
for
month.
reconsideration, and it'll be next month
It has to be done next
when
month.
we have
the
the right amount of numbers here at the board meeting.
And
maybe.
Well, yeah, it doesn't have to be next
it's a little
Or the
confusing.
following month.
But we don't have the math today to do that reconsideration, the actual
Can we continue
revote.
to discuss?
It's just, do we have permission to do the revote? Gwen,
Voting to reconsider doesn't require a two-thirds because we're just reconsidering a vote, and it doesn't matter what the vote is for. We're just
that's what Craig
a
just said.
reconsideration.
That's what Craig
But
just said.
nonetheless, can we still discuss some of the validity of? No.
We're only discussing putting it back on the table, not the merits of the thing itself.
Can we call the question?
We're discussing the merits of
We're discussing the merits.
reconsidering, not the merits of the original motion.
Correct.
So
The more merits of reconsideration is that one thing that was not discussed is that right now the county has gone back to, in senior living situations, masking of all community seniors.
Gwen, I don't know what that has to do with what we're trying to do now.
Reconsideration.
And we are way
There are
beyond
other
our
facts
time limit here.
that could be discussed in that reconsideration.
So,
Can I call the question?
Yes. Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
I second.
Okay.
Okay, so let's
the-
take the vote for the reconsideration.
Actually, we already moved it. We were discussing, so you don't have
Right.
to.
Yeah. So the
You
question-
don't have a second for a call. Well, okay. All right. Either way, we're ready to vote
Yes.
on the reconsideration only, not the final
Right.
resolution.
Yes.
Layla Aguilar,
Yes.
John Baveri,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, I, Craig Goldfarb,
Come back to me.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecht,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
No.
Abby Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Michael Signorelli,
Yes.
Chris Valle,
Yes.
Craig.
Abstain. Doesn't make a difference.
Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. We have 9 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstention, so that carries.
And we can consider it for the next meeting or the following
Yeah,
meeting
we'll
when we have
put it
all
on the
board
agenda for a
members.
future.
So, with your permission, it's 9:39, 9:40, 8:40. Sorry, and we're beyond our time that we would like to close this place up. So, the rest of the agenda gets postponed. Read the reports that are posted, and we'll take it up next month on the 12th of February. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
In all honesty, most of the meetings, so there was